Hello and welcome to our presentation in our small group design project by Pamela Detman and Kevin Hahn. So our subject area is health education, and our topic is communicable and non-communicable diseases. This is for 9th grade, so freshman health class. Like I just said, we have 9th graders, so approximately 14 and 15 years old. We have both male and female students from various races and socioeconomic backgrounds. So we have the students who are very well off, and also students who are on, typical free and reduced lunch type stuff. So we have a very diverse class. All of our students do speak English. However, there are a few who are bilingual, but there are not any ELL students. So we do have everybody who can speak English in the class. It is a required class that all students take. However, there's not different levels of the health class. So they put all different types of learners into the same sections of health. So we have students who, outside of health class, are in honors level courses, while others are in lower level courses with 504 and IEP plans. And there's a lot of students who do read and write far below the average 9th grade student. So that's something that we do have to factor in as well when planning this unit and other units as well. So some behaviors and I statements that we have for this unit, kind of related to our objectives, which we'll get into shortly. Being able to recognize the difference between communicable and non-communicable diseases. So seeing a disease and being able to tell this is communicable, and then seeing a different disease, maybe this is not communicable. So knowing the difference between the two. Describing strategies used to manage communicable diseases and non-communicable diseases. So what this means is that students can know if someone were to have a disease, whether it be communicable or non-communicable, that they would know how to either manage, take care of, and hopefully be able to get rid of, if possible, the disease that they have, or if it's not curable, ways to treat it and ways to kind of not suffer the consequences of that disease, kind of suffer them as little as possible. And then being able to research their topic and create a Padlet to display the information to the entire class as a presentation. That's kind of something that we'll get more into as we go along. But being able to create a presentation about a disease for the entire class to see. Our state standards for Illinois, we'll kind of tie these into our objectives, which we will move on into here in the next slide. So our objectives, students will be able to distinguish the difference between communicable and non-communicable diseases with 80% efficacy. So this is kind of in the beginning stages of our unit, more direct instruction, and we'll get more into that as we move along. But basically just knowing the difference between communicable and non-communicable diseases. So a disease that we can spread to a person versus a disease that you have but you can't spread to another person. Students will be able to follow guidelines in order to create a Padlet with 80% efficacy. So students are going to be responsible for creating this Padlet about a specific disease that they're assigned, and we have given them a rubric which they need to use and score with an 80% or higher as an objective. Students will be able to participate in a Gallerywalk by filling in important information about diseases with 80% efficacy. So after we all create the Padlets in the class, the students are going to have their Padlet displayed on their computer, on their desk, and they're going to get a piece of paper to fill out, and they're going to go around in gallery type format and fill in different things about the different Padlets that they view. And we want this information to be filled in with 80% or higher. So our teaching and learning strategies. We chose the constructivist theory. We felt this one was best for our unit plan. Kind of the main reason, with the Padlet, the students are creating something that's very unique to them. They're going to be assigned a disease and they're going to create the Padlet, but they're going to have the opportunity to organize it and create it in a way that makes sense to them. So we're going to give them guidelines to follow and certain things that they need to include, but the layout and the organization and the outside materials that they put in, the images, the links to other videos that talk more about the diseases is solely up to how they want to present it to the class and how it makes sense to them. And as we know from the constructivist theory, according to our textbook from class, knowledge is unique to the individual who constructs it. It is entirely unique product for the individual based on experiences within those mental processes occurred. So it allows for exploration and creativity for the individual learner. So while it is important for the students to get the facts about the diseases, we also want to make it so that it's unique to the individual so that they can remember it going outside of class and kind of use it as a life skill. So while it would be great if they can know everything about communicable and non-communicable diseases, one of the main things that we want them to know is being able to identify communicable and non-communicable diseases, and making it unique in this way, I think, will help students kind of be able to recall this in the future. Say if somebody gets family member gets a disease, and they'll be able to know exactly whether it's communicable or not communicable, and kind of be able to think back on that. So the technology that we used, we start with Chromebooks. That's the very basic technology tool that we're using. And with the Chromebooks, it allows us to do different things. So one of the first days we're going to be introducing communicable and non-communicable diseases, and one of the assignments is reading an article called The Chain of Infection and taking 2-column notes with this article. So the reason that we chose Chromebooks to use the article with as opposed to just giving them a paper copy is that because we have this wide variety of learners and reading levels, that if students are unable to finish reading the article in class, they now have the Chromebooks that they take home with them, and they'll be able to access this article whenever they want and for how long as they want. Whereas if you have the paper copy, a student might forget it in class, they might lose it in their backpack, they might throw it out or put it in a different folder and not be able to find it, and then have the excuse of, oh, well, I couldn't see the article, so I couldn't finish the 2-column notes. Now with the Chromebook, the article is going to be on their computer no matter what. They have the link to the PDF file of the article. They can access it whenever they want, for how long they want, and go through and take the 2-column notes at their own pace. So this value added by the Chromebooks is that it gives the students an opportunity to have the article and not be able to lose it. And in addition, with the Chromebooks, we're going to be using Padlet. So the picture here on the slideshow is a screenshot of what a portion of the Padlet could look like. This one is about influenza or the flu. Students could be creating poster boards and whatnot with the information that they're learning in class. However, by using Padlet, they now have the opportunity to include different pictures like this that they wouldn't be able to necessarily draw, or that it might be hard to print off and glue on. And then there's more information. This little information tab down here. To find out more information about the flu, go to this tab. So then that's a Mayo Clinic link. So the Mayo Clinic has a ton of great information about the flu. So the value added with the Padlet is that you can include so much more information onto the presentation outside of this short little bit that they put on there. And then also over to the right here, a CDC video about ways to vaccinate against the flu. So again, that's something that might not be able to be added if we were to do this just on a poster board and students are writing facts on there. So now students have the opportunity to go to this video and learn a ton more from a really reliable source. So the day-to-day description, we have a 6-day unit, 2 days of direct instruction, 2 days for research and Padlet creation, and then 2 days for a gallery walk for students to gather information about other diseases from different Padlets. So day 1, we are going to be having some direct instruction on communicable diseases. So we'll talk about common types of communicable diseases, ways that they're spread. So if you have a communicable disease, what are the different ways that you can spread it from one person to another? And then we'll wrap that day 1 up by reading the Chain of Infection article and completing 2-column notes. So below a picture is what the 2-column notes look like. And in here are the different things that are talked about in the Chain of Infection article. And there's different sections. Well, they will first write the description in their own words after reading it, and then the second section is about breaking the link, and they will talk about ways to avoid getting communicable diseases, and they'll write that in their own words in breaking the link. And then direct instruction on day 2, again, about non-communicable diseases. So again, we'll talk about common types, how they're spread will be introduced, and there'll be a Google slideshow that is going to be presented by the teacher to go in depth about non-communicable diseases. And students will not be responsible for taking notes or anything, but this Google slideshow will be available to them after class so that they can access it on their Chromebooks and be able to look at it. Day 3, they're going to start researching and creating their Padlet. So there'll be a list of communicable and non-communicable diseases for the students to choose from. We won't have repeats, so we want to have as many diseases as possible. And then after choosing, the students will start creating their Padlet, and they will get their rubric for the things that they need to include. And below here is different layouts from the Padlet that they can choose from. So we have just a blank wall. You have a little map there that kind of connects everything. You have a stream that goes up and down, a grid, a shelf, and then the channel. So kind of just different points popping up everywhere. Again, day 4 will be research and putting the Padlet together. We want to make sure they have great information from various different reliable websites, and then that we have all the information that we need. So the Padlet needs to be created by the start of class on the day 5 of the unit. So 3 and 4, they're working on the units. Day 5, it's due. And then day 5 and 6, we're doing the Gallerywalk. So the Gallerywalk will look like students putting their Chromebooks up on their desks, and the Padlet will be pulled up, and that will just be the only thing on the screen. And students will then have a worksheet in paper form that they will go around. They'll have 6 minutes at each station, and they'll go from computer to computer, filling out their Gallerywalk sheet based on the Padlet that's in front of them. So it is important that when you're creating your Padlet, you're putting in the right information, you're putting in enough information for your peers to be able to fill out their Gallerywalk worksheet. The cool differentiation options with Padlet is that students can post videos of them talking, so if they don't want to type, they can talk a little bit more. They can post audio and pictures instead of words, which is great. And students can even draw if they like to be artistic. And then students at all levels can create the Padlet based on their needs and learning styles, which is great because we have such a wide range of students and learning styles. So maybe a student just is great at finding information and then typing it in. Or whereas maybe other students are really good at drawing different things that they read about. So we kind of liked Padlet because it gave a lot of different options and ways to show what you know about the topic. And then here's just a handout of the Gallerywalk. So they're going to write the disease and the name of the person that created it, the symptoms or causes of it, treatments, people who are affected the most by it, any interesting facts that they learned, and then organizations that are dedicated to helping either find a cure or raise awareness about the disease that is on the Padlet. And this will be done by every student for every single Padlet that they view. And then this is some screenshots of the handouts. So this is the day 1 handout. Students are going to kind of be introduced to communicable and non-communicable diseases. So this is what they'll be looking at and things that they'll have access to. So that is there for them. And then we have another screenshot of a completed Padlet about influenza. So this is what a finished product might look like. And then this is the other section of it. So they have different links in here, different pictures, and they kind of just laid out how they wanted it to look. And then the summative evaluation will be on day 5 and 6 of the unit. We'll have 2 parts, the Padlet and the Gallerywalk. The students are expected to score 80% or higher on the Padlet rubric and complete the Gallerywalk worksheet in its entirety. And then throughout the unit, we'll informally assess through observation, making sure students are doing what they're supposed to do. And then to wrap up the whole thing, we're going to have a Google form at the end of the unit for students to say what they liked about it, what they didn't like, how they wanted to use Padlet different in the future, and that type of thing.